All right, I'm going to turn this over to Larry Gazzardo, All-Star Dental Academy's head instructor.
Well, good afternoon or good evening, everybody. It's good to be here. I will start today's session by letting you know that I have a bias toward ownership, and I think owning a dental practice is probably one of the most fulfilling things that you can do. I would encourage any dentist to own their own practice. So I'm really excited to talk about this whole series. And what I like about a series is that we've got so much to talk about, and we'll get through quite a bit of it tonight. However, what we're not able to finish this evening, we'll move on and we'll finish it in the rest of the series. But tonight, what I wanted to do is give you an outline of things that you should consider and things that you'll have to start putting into place if you're going to own your own practice. And one of those things that you're going to have to put in place is what are you going to be like as the owner? And what's it going to be like for you to be the owner? Because it's not the same, obviously, being the owner as it was when you were either in dental school or perhaps you worked for somebody else. You know how it is. It's not until you walk in somebody else's shoes do you ever really realize what it's like to have their experience. So some of the things that I'd like to talk about are just some really important characteristics that you really have to question yourself. Am I suited for owning a business? I will say, given the 22 years that I have been consulting with dental practices, if you've made it through dental school, I will say that you're probably already 80% there. And again, I've got that bias. I really want you to own a practice. I think that's the best thing for you to do. But believe it or not, I think the hardest part was getting through school. And if you've gotten through school, you're almost there. And I think the rest of it could be pretty easy. So I want you to look at your own drive and energy and evaluate yourself. Do I have the drive and do I have the energy to own my own business? Do I have self-confidence? You know, if I'm somebody who doubts myself all the time, it does make it more difficult to own your own business when you don't have the trait of self-confidence. You also have to have some tolerance for ambiguity because there's a lot of things that go on in owning a business that you don't have any control over. And you can worry about it all the time, or you can learn to be okay with things that aren't totally clear. All business people, I know Alex, Tom, myself, Heather, when we started the All-Star Dental Academy, we had to be okay with the fact that we had the confidence that we had good material, and we had the confidence that people would like it if they gave us a try. But did we know that for sure? No. But we put a year's worth of work and sweat together to put this program online the way that we did. And so my point of saying that to you is just that we had some tolerance for ambiguity. We had a sense that what we were doing would be well received. However, we had no guarantees that people would respond so well as they have. You also, to be a good entrepreneur, if you're going to own your own business, you have to have a low fear of failure. If you're going to be afraid of failing, then it could keep you from moving forward. But I've made mistakes in my career. I've been taken advantage of at times in my career. And I won't go into it, but I've certainly made my share of stupid mistakes in my career. But it didn't keep me from moving forward. It never paralyzed me. I never spent a lot of time dwelling over it. I just licked my wounds, picked myself up, and I kept moving forward, and that's how I could survive 22 years in a business. It's not that I'm not afraid to fail, but I have a very low fear of failing. And I also have a moderate risk or I'm willing to take risks. Some people could be taking too many risks, and that can create problems for them. My sense is if you're a dentist, then you have a very moderate, risk-taking kind of personality, and I think that that's healthy because most dentists aren't going to take a lot of risks. You also have to have the ability to want a long-term involvement. When I went into business for myself, I did it because I wanted this to be the last job I ever had. And so I wanted it to be long-term, and I always thought long term in the time that I had it, or during my career here. For me, and I think even for most people who own businesses, I think money has to be somewhat important, and we use money as a measure. I use money in my business, and even in my wife's practice, we use money just as a measure of how we're doing. Are we growing? Are we stalling? Are things slowing down? But we use money as a measure, but it's not an end for us. Neither one of us, because my wife is in private practice with her business and I have my consulting business, money was never an end for us, like I'm going to make all this money. We wanted to be able to have good jobs for ourselves. We wanted to be able to go to work every day. We wanted to be able to enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, money was important. We wanted to earn a fair living because we knew if we earned a fair wage, then and if we could put a budget together, then we could obtain some wealth in our life by spending less than we make. But my point is that we never went into it thinking we were going to get out of it. Like I'm just going to build this and sell it. Our intention was always that this will be our job, and so we've got to take care of it that way. So money for us was a measure, but not the end, not the end all for it. I think a good trait for somebody who wants to own a business is that they can use feedback and they're willing to receive feedback from other people. That would be very, very helpful. And you have to definitely have the ability to depend on others or even rely on others. You can't be like the type of individual who thinks, I just have to do it all myself. Because if you've got to do it all yourself, you're never going to get it all done. I just know that just from my years of being in business. I have to rely on other people, and I've got to depend on them, and I've learned to be able to do that. I think all people who want to own businesses have to have some like self-imposed standards, meaning that there's certain things that they accept, and there's certain things that they don't accept. And they're very clear about what they accept and what they don't accept. And it's good for them because it helps drive the decisions that they make. And so they're not swayed by everything that they hear because they have certain standards that they follow. And so you have to have some self-imposed kind of standards. And I think you also have to have the ability to set goals for yourself. You have to have strategic goals, you have to have personal goals, but you have to have the ability to say, this is something that I want for myself, and then hold yourself accountable for achieving it. So those are some of the things that I wanted to get down in writing for you, because if you're really thinking about owning a business or starting a practice, then you've got to look at some really important characteristics that have to be in place, which will really help you be a better business person. It doesn't mean that you couldn't own your own business if you don't think you have some of these traits, because many of them can be learned, like using feedback and relying on other sources and things like that. You can learn how to do that. However, if you really recognize that I can't stand failing and I'm afraid of all that and I have absolutely no drive and no energy, then I'm not saying that you couldn't own your business, but I'll definitely say that that will make it more difficult, because you have to have the ability to get up out of bed, set your own alarm clock, take calls or see patients when you have to do it. So you got to have that drive and that energy to keep you going. I'll just say, I've owned my own business now for 22 years, and I've enjoyed it, and it's been very fulfilling. I like being my own boss. Sometimes I'm my own worst boss in the way that I do things, but I've enjoyed it. My wife has started her practice now. October will be the end of her 4th year, and she's had some challenges there. I won't say that it's always been easy. She always worked for other people. In the end, she's learning how to be a very good manager, and I'm helping her along and encouraging her. We're also in the decision-making process of whether she will continue the lease arrangement that she has for where her office is located, or whether she is going to purchase a building or maybe even build a building. We've got a lot of options in front of us. We've got about 2 years before we have to make that decision, but we're right in that process right now. So I guess they always say that you've got to teach the things that you need to learn the most. So as I'm helping all of you, I'm actually helping myself as well. So let me give you some pointers here on actually just getting started here